And with the start of game number 4, and another team having been taken out of the lobby, out of contention because they already found their qualification. Possibility of some drops opening up, possibility of some rotates becoming slightly easier, but one thing that's for sure is Pars and Bugha, Edgy Tavern, these two have been 50-50 in their drop all day long. Bugha with the Ranger pistol, gonna try and get some more pressure applied onto Tavern. Tavern still yet to find a weapon. Bugha just needs to connect with one more shot. Finds a flopper, a lock-on pistol, some minis as well. Tavern just continuing to try and keep running. Pars will find the elimination though onto Edgy, which gives Bugha the opening to just pick off Edgy. So a little bit tragic there for Edgy and Tavern.
I'm now so curious. Like, the first 3 games, they were landing on the mountain. Sure, maybe the battle bus determined that, but then for both of them to decide this game, they're gonna go for the island and like perfectly as well. That's just crazy for them to just essentially throw the semifinals away. I don't know who's like targeting who at this point, but it's neck and neck as far as the exchanges go, and Bugha and Pars continue to win more often than not, so they do seem to be the better duo on the day. Anyways, Blizzard and Victor end up winning their second game back-to-back. So now this is a 2-2 engagement as well for Hades and Creep versus Blizzard and Victor. And the tallies continue to add up here for contested drops.
Yeah, but going back to what you were mentioning with Bugha, Pars, Edgy, and Tavern, it's
Yeah,
almost
I just don't know.
It feels personal at this point for those two.
Somebody's coach is just ratting them out. Like, someone's giving away the juice to where this team's landing. Like, what is going on?
Certainly some pretty crazy stuff, but now you just got to hope that Pars and Bugha, they're able to convert that successful off-drop fight into something like a victory royale here in game number 4. Guess it'll mostly depend upon whether or not they're able to secure a forecast tower this match or not. But just kind of keeping tabs on some of these teams. We just checked in with Duke and Threats over at Grand Glacier. Again, another team on the north side of the map is Epic and Clicks. Having all of Lavish Lair uncontested is pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's a massive draw spot. I mean, I talked about in game number 2 that so many teams tend to rotate towards that area as the zone starts to close, because it's just that big, and there's usually something left over there. Take a look at this. We get to celebrate QX and Decay's first set of eliminations on broadcast here. Congrats for them actually winning the drop, taking down Moo and company.
Did cost QX his teammate though, but with it being so early on, you can hear the reboot band going off already, so NK will be brought back into this 4th match. As far as G-Money and Diego are concerned though, they're hanging out just on the outskirts of Lavish Lair. Keep in mind, Clicks Epic bound to have already gotten into the vault by now at Lavish. Could just be Diego and G-Money looking to try and maybe set up a little bit of height to try and get some tags into Clicks and Epic. Freeze and Sus have the same idea here, challenging Asian Jeff and Oliver OG for control of the mountainside.
So far, so good for Suska from Freeze here. Oliver OG and Asian Jeff got their work cut out for them right now, as they're getting forced lower and lower down the slope here. Not sure how I feel about them allowing Suska and Freeze to just demand this much respect. Finally, Asian Jeff starts to shoot back. Ends up winning the better half of the exchange there.
I was just going to say, part of the problem might be the fact that Sus and Freeze could potentially just have more materials to work with than Asian Jeff and Oliver. This is such a early engagement. Can't expect Asian Jeff and Oliver OG to have had much time to farm other than those initial essentials. And now Asian Jeff, he's got that blue frenzy auto, wants to try and find some cracks through the floor there onto Sus and Freeze. Freeze eating some decent damage by Oliver OG now. And Freeze isn't careful. Asian Jeff still holding this angle from the underside. Oliver OG, Asian Jeff rejoining momentarily just to pop a couple of flow berries, get their shields up. Now the Flowberry Fizz comes out. Both players, max 200. It's up to Sus. Even the playing field here. Asian Jeff will lose 50 of those shields immediately. But he still continues trying to work with his downward angle, but down to his final 2 builds, MDF. Now Asian Jeff, Oliver, OG, they essentially have to commit to this fight because if anything, they need the siphon materials.
Yeah, this is just all types of bad. Not only do they not have the mats here, but this has gone far too long. There's another team already moving in. And more importantly, like, why would they fight from like this such a disadvantageous position for that long, you know? Especially when they had that many heavy material. Like, they used brick and metal and worked their way down and down and down this base. And it just makes you wonder why not just go like lateral? Like, you know, it puts them in probably the worst position we've seen them as far as the fighting position goes. And Asian Jeff and Oliver OG have had so many moments of greatness throughout the weekend. This is for sure one of the worst spots that they could have asked themselves to find themselves in now. And they're still there. There's nothing they can do. They can't disengage first. They just don't have the luxury to do so just yet. Meanwhile, this other team's just listening, watching, waiting for their moment. And now Asian Jeff finds himself even lower on not only material, but ammunition as well. Suscript and company might be the first to break here as they also run out of mats. So a battle over attrition essentially plays out here. And they're going to move. The other team's going to move. Luckily, they still have a little bit of activity from the Flowberry Fizz active. And good. Instinctually, they rotate out because if they stood around any longer, that other duo was going to take full advantage of them.
But the amount of time expended from both of these duos to now leave with next to nothing after that entirety of engagement, can't help but wonder just how problematic that's going to be for both of those teams as they continue trying to look for a way to refarm all those materials, all those resources they just had to use up.
I mean, Taco, like, I feel like this game just started and there's 71 players left. Like, it's like what just happened? Like, we were watching just a standoff, and while that was going on, a quarter of the lobby just gets chopped.
And it's kind of, I'm not that surprised to see such a fast-paced match here in game number 4 because you can almost feel the antsiness, a lot of tension, I think, that's really built up here because those teams that aren't in that 6th through 25th position on the leaderboard, if you're underneath that threshold, you don't want to find yourself in the lower bracket. You want more opportunities in the upper. Reet and Ritual trying to take their fate under their own control here. Nice elimination onto Noisy. Reet, though, still trying to keep the momentum going. Wants Siren as well. Will finally manage to capitalize on these 2 elims. But it's the fact that Reet and Ritual, they've just been the bosses of Reckless Railways, but endgame's not so much. Forecast Tower is what it's all about here, though.
Mars and Bugha back at it again. The Forecast Tower, this is what happens when they survive the drop. They go straight for it. They're willing to fight for it. Not an Agers as well, playing this strategy right on into their, you know, mapping their routes. Ritual and Re also have, of course, control of this Forecast Tower. So these are all your teams, of course, that are poised to have the most advantageous game so far here for game number 4. It's not every game you get the forecast either, right? Like, there's a lot that goes into it, but when you do secure it, it just makes a world of difference.
Without a doubt, just that knowledge making it so much easier to understand exactly where and how some of these teams wish to rotate. Agers, Kanata, now trying to see if they can get a little bit of extra tag damage, if not an elimination entirely, onto this solo that's just continuing to run deeper and deeper into Rebel's Roost. A decent body of water here for Agers to cross if he so chooses, but he does have a grapple blade as well as the zip line if he wants to try and cut the gap here, but doesn't seem as though Agers is all that interested in splitting that far off from Kanata, just trying to secure tags where he can get that damage online. Since they know they have the forecast, they know they can focus on their positioning if they get their surge damage up and running. Back
on over to Cold and Acorn right now. A team that we've been eyeing, hoping to see them make that endgame run. Came very, very close. But it's all about this early game. It's all about this early game. They've been having a difficult time getting past this mid to early game. I like this little bait type play right here, though. Cold is trying to wait this team out. Acorn, he's got the wood builds, making the open edits. It's like, come on, shoot at it. And this is even more tempting for Tenley and Cruz up top. Cold's got all visuals here, so Acorn knows he's more than safe at the moment. The team comes flying over him. He's got to be careful. There it is. Tenley and Cyrus come on out. The Acorn defends well alongside Cold there.
Cold.
He took his base? Oh, yeah, that's a mistake.
Cold
go for it?
Looked like he wanted to just get some tags with that Thunderburst. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to connect, but like you just mentioned, I love the fact that Acorn was essentially just trying to be the bait between the two of them, and for a moment it looked like Cheers and his duo were going to take it, but Cole just narrowly missing out on a little bit of damage application there. Nothing too sore though. I think Acorn and Cold, certainly a team that can navigate the rest of this match to try and find the surge damage where they need.
Well, things are starting to settle here. Rift Island's going to begin to reveal itself. Team's already marking out the location. This one's pretty close for Revised and Rocane. If they don't move now, they'll lose the opportunity to seize the moment. Already, other teams are starting to close in on the deal. CTK and Bacon still up. Now we jump into Dukes and Threats here. Very far apart. Sniper's out though. It's Haji, it's Flexi, big 110, and this is why you don't peek for too long. You see a player like Duke in the field. It's danger all around.
Flexi peaked for like 2 seconds. It's just that edit, a little bit too exposed, I think. Made it a little bit easier there for Dukes to connect with that body shot. We saw that Rift Island was relatively close to where Revive and Rocane were at, but it's going to be Visuals and Braids one more time.
Second time.
Looking to try and command the likes of Rift Island, but Visuals having ate a little bit of damage on his way up here. Now he's trying to see if he can return the favor. Fully knows that there is a player sitting inside of his bush right now, but the hardest part is just going to be for Visuals to connect. Finally, a couple of 21s breaking through here with that Ranger pistol. Visuals, all he really wants though is that long-range headshot, because even from a distance, getting that 2x headshot multiplier from the Ranger pistol is always nice.
Yams and Rise end up jumping their way on up to the Rift Island. Seems like they're attracting more and more players towards it now.
As far as Yamza and Rise are concerned though, we'll have to see how Rift Island pans out for them. Duke though, right back at it. Reaper Sniper comes out,
wow.
Chubbs immediately goes down.
It's just going.
Beautiful headshot.
From 110 to 275, just working his way on up. Stocks rising for the Duke here in game number 4. That's big.
That's a huge influx of surge damage as well.
Oh yeah.
Between just those 2 shots alone, and that's also a big part of the reason why you'll often see these players, these teams opting for at least one sniper to be held between the two of them, because just a couple of shots already, practically 400 damage dealt. Again though, does take a decent bit of confidence, I would say, because if you do have that Reaper Sniper, it's a slot, which means you won't be able to carry crash pads or shields, depending on how you choose to split things between your duo. But the risk versus the reward situation is certainly panning out there pretty heavily for Duke and Threats.
Yeah, so far so good. I mean, having that sniper, you can see that, you know, although it comes at the exchange sometimes of having an AR, it's worth it in the hands of someone like Duke. But here's Dan Redux living in the shadows still. I like where they're set up, though. This is all in all, approved rotate here. Taking a low ground ravine. No one based up all around them. They have plenty of opportunity to keep a low profile here, work for a better positioning. Meanwhile, on the train right here, X-Spawn and Mew. You don't see this very often. This is Fortnite all the way. Put it in the trailer at this point.
Seems a little bit risky here for X-Spawn and Mew, but
what could go wrong? Come on.
other than being a little bit exposed, X-Spawn and Mew definitely going to reconsider just how long. They got the loot that they wanted from the train, so they'll opt to fall back now. Threats, Duke though, we saw Duke. Those 3 eliminations that he secured so far, but he's got to be careful he doesn't find himself elimed in the process. Threats chose the wrong box to try and protect himself in. Is now Snacky and Possessed, just barreling down on top of Threats and Duke, not trying to give them an opportunity to recover here. Threats gonna actually opt to give his last flopper over to Duke, but he can't make it over the crash pad. Threats stuck now. One more crash pad, but the zone tick with that 1 HP is gonna be all it takes. Duke now trying to get back to his duo, but you can already see the materials coming out from Threats. Duke fully understanding he's just gotta leave Threats behind and play this one out as a solo.
Happens to the best of them, even though Duke is literally playing absurdly well right now. Everything just goes south for a second there. And no white heals either. Again, the downside of running that 3rd weapon here in the inventory, you obviously can't opt out of rotate, so something's got to give, and this time it's going to be the med kits. Not sure what you really do in this situation for Duke.
He can lay low. He can afford to lay low for a little bit here. Maybe just look for a third-party opportunity. Duke actually gonna opt to try and just force his way into zone before the rest of the lobby takes notice of the fact that there's a solo running underneath. Hard mats are all that remains just about here for Duke. Doesn't have a whole lot of wood to work with, granted, in this kind of position. Wouldn't want to be throwing out the wood builds in the first place. That's why it's all metal and brick for the time being. But Duke knows he's still got to make it into zone, especially with no white heals. He can't really afford to take that much damage from the zone ticks.
Well, the zone does reveal itself. He goes for that quick crash pad, rotate out the side there. One should be enough. Yamzo and Rise in the same position here, but they have grapple hooks. They'll be just fine.
Rise and Yamzo, though, certainly going to take their time with that rotate. Acorn and Cold, meanwhile, just doing what he can for Acorn. Hold on. It's Victor and Blizzard that were trying to get mega aggressive. Acorn, though, making quick work, finding that finish off elim from Victor. Well played by Cold as well. Saw his duo getting so heavily pressured and just hung off to the side of Acorn's box and fully capitalized on Blizzard and Victor being positioned in essentially the same spot. They tried to pressure from the same direction, and Cold just full piece both of them.
Yeah, and that's what happens when the surge turns on, right? You know, teams are going to get desperate. They're going to try to make a move. And not everyone's going to wait until the zone starts to do damage. They're not going to wait until the storm closes. So Blizzard, in valiant effort, tried something risky there, but gets caught out by the stronger team this time around. Hold an Acorn on the move here. This is what we talk about, their rotates landing together. Much more of an improvement than we've seen in other games. It's about time we're starting to see them get hit the hip in another end game here, this time in a much better position than any other round we've seen them in. No pressure from the storm warning there too. Meanwhile, Reed and Ritual in the same position, just getting to their strong spot, sitting on a world of loot here, probably a fresh set of elims, and now another one there as Ducky gets brought right on down into their builds. Plenty of heavy mats too. This could be Reed and Ritual's game to determine with this amount of material that they have available to themselves.
It's always pretty crazy when you see a couple of heavily regarded powerhouse teams looking so good and set up for entering their late game, keeping tabs on Ritual and Reet, though. Skater, Walty seem like they want to get a little bit up close and personal there with Ritual and Reet now prioritizing, trying to push that duo back, but Azures, Kanata, not nearly as much damage as they would like. And so with that in mind, Azures trying to do what he can with this lock-on pistol, see if he can find some of those last little ticks of damage to give this team a little bit more confidence to know they can focus primarily on rotate and positioning. Because right now, when you're that close to the damage threshold, you just can't afford to take it easy by any means. Bugha, Pars, more or less exact same situation here. But the loadout's looking pretty nice.
This is the problem right here. A lot of teams are not going to be opening up these edits anymore. They allowed everyone to kind of settle down into the rotate. So if you didn't already find tags, it's going to become increasingly difficult now as the bases, the structures, all this metal, it's fully built out now. So box fights are going to start to ensue here shortly. There it is. We can visually see the damage, of course, happening here as the Surge is active. More fights are happening here, though, while we're watching as Reet and Ritual continue to turn and burn on opponents. Look, it's not like they have to by any means, but it's because they want to. Why are you so close to us? They want more room.
You could tell from the moment that Walter and Skates made their way towards Ritual and Reet that they weren't going to let that fly. A nice elimination there to add to the tally, but again, Azures, Kanata, just looking for where they want to go next. Grapple Blades will come out as they try to get this rotate online before the rest of the lobby has an opportunity to try and work down their HP. Azures only losing a little bit of shield for it, but it's Havoc on the other side of his wall. Gotta be careful, Havoc inside of his own build. Azures again from the low ground, spots out another box above him, but Ritual, Reet, we saw this team having so much success, and just like that, it's down to exclusively Ritual to try and make some magic happen here in game number 4.
And don't forget, 3 teams picked up those forecast towers. So Ritual has the information he needs. Bugha and Pars surely does as well. And they're in a much better position. And Azures has not stopped picking up eliminations, which I'm sure they also have all the eyes in the sky here at this point in time. But it's Clix. It's Epic Whale who's on high ground right now at the front side of the zone here, taking full-on advantage, building even higher than they probably need to. And this is seems to be the growing characteristic of this duo right now, taking it way back to big tower days because this grapple blade gives you so much room to do so.
I mean,
Look,
they
let it down. The team's already countering them, essentially.
Yeah, I was gonna mention, this is practically Clix and Epic's backyard here, with the way that the zone is pulled. Hanging out near the Lavish Lair, Cold Acorn, a little bit scuffy on that rotate with the grab blade, but they managed to stick together, and that's the most important part. It's Azures, Kanata also trying to work their way through this mid-ground layer. Azures still wanting to get aggressive with some of these window edits, see if he can find an opportunity to crack somebody's shields, if not look for a knockout right. This lock-on pistol, he gets the full charge, it can definitely deal some damage pretty quickly, but like you said, MD, you have so many teams having already based up, they're not really looking for aggressive peaks. Azures, Kanata, they just gotta hope that they can find somebody, and Azures, indeed, inside of the box that he just happens to stumble through. Ponder will find himself eliminated. Big refresh there, but
what?
Vax flying through. Not the build he wanted to be inside, though.
Look at this, Cold and Acorn actually in the end game right now, finding eliminations, turning online here, rotating out on the outskirts. This is the type of Cold and Acorn form that we've been expecting to see all weekend long. However, we're finally just now getting glimpses of them, and they're under the wrath, though, of Clix and Epic Will because they are second height, so it's not going to be for free by any means. Asian Jeff is there as well. Forced to the low ground. Everyone earns the respect of Clix here as he pushes his opponents all down, and Epic reinforces the builds, and down they go as well now. And he doesn't let his guard down. It costs them everything, though. Costs them all of their material here, so huge commitment. Now they need a refresher.
Clix seemingly on refresh duty, trying to apply so much pressure to these teams that are slightly below this high ground layer, but he just can't find his immediate pickups. He's gotten some damage application, but nothing that he can convert into a knock, looking for an elimination opportunity still. Meanwhile, Cold, Acorn, Fullberry Fizz, and it's gonna be Cold and Acorn actually just dropping a little bit.
Together. Oh, and they find a player underneath the build here. But that's the problem. That's the problem being this high up on the layers. You start to waste your medkits. You start to find other teams that want to go for high ground. And all of a sudden now Acorn is by himself. But he is fighting for this tooth and nail right now. And he finds a whole duo there. Huge tag onto Revize and takes him down. But Rokane plays defensively there. Does enough. Epic Whale is now by himself. He loses clicks too. He still has 2 medkits, but remember, it was all of his material just to stay on the high ground here. And now he can't do anything about it. He gets crushed under the weight of the lobby.
And look at Rapid. Just full benefiting from Epic's refresh there. Iamzo, Rise though, trying to control the low ground. Got a decent amount of builds going up here. Trying to see if they can pick off User. A nice knock, converts to an elimination, but that's gonna be Rapid and Bugha now from the high ground. Dropping first is gonna be Rapid, trying to see if he can find the last couple of hits needed. Rokane eliminated. Batman Bugha, Rapid, up against the likes of Suscript and his 4 medkits.
4 medkits? Batman Bugha, you have to do more. Okay, he recognizes that. Oh, he might actually have this, and he actually does. He runs up, grabs those floppers. He was willing to fight for it and put it all on the line there.
Looking like a little bit of storm sickness might have been the demise there for Suscript. Curious to see how exactly those 4 medkits just fell short, but hey, you take your chances, you take the gamble, and sometimes you just don't have the ability to sustain through it.
Well, listen, Batman Bugha is definitely a favorite, as is Rapid here. Together, they do what seemed impossible for a moment there, but they end up winning the game in the end. Suscript, who, again, like you said, had the definite advantage in the win condition in his favor, have to assume, yeah, the sickness turned on. Look at the damage. Starts ticking like crazy. And he gets dropped there. Well, there you have it. Batman Bugha, Rapid, they're going straight to grand finals now after a splendid victory royale there. And we haven't seen much of them all day long, but all of a sudden now, when it matters, they win a game.
Yeah, and the best part about it is that they came from the lower bracket. So they're going to be our first lower bracket team come upper bracket to secure the Victory Royale and finalize their place in the grand finals. Fantastic stuff coming out of Batman Bugha and Rapid, but I'm sure there's plenty more to break down in game number 4. So Zeke, Vivid, Kelly, what you got for us?